Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Mythical Madam, your bi-weekly dose of the world's strangest myths from around the globe. I'm June, and since it's October, that time of the year when the night feels just a little thicker, the air smells faintly of wood smoke, and everyone's acting like creepy stories still don't get under their skin, I thought maybe we'd lean into the season. Long shadows, flickering lights, and things in the dark that may or may not be wearing a costume. Every other Tuesday, we travel to a different corner of folklore of the world. Sometimes it's heartwarming, sometimes it's bone-deep eerie, and sometimes it's the kind of tale that makes you laugh at first. And then remember hours later while brushing your teeth, wondering if you should maybe double-check the locks. And of course, this episode is produced and edited by Sunface Media. And this one is actually a special request from one of our producers, Andy himself. So you can thank or blame him for the chills you're about to get. And of course, another big thank you to both Andy and John Armstrong for making sure these episodes sound smooth, the pacing feels just right, and my microphone hasn't accidentally picked up breathing that isn't mine in this empty room while I'm recording. Welcome to the Mythical Madam, my little corner of the internet where we sip on a bit of curiosity and wander into the eerie, the haunting, and the beautifully strange. So if you're ready for a little chaos, a little darkness, and yes, plenty of my unsolicited thoughts along the way, get cozy and settle in wherever you are. Welcome to the Mythical Madam podcast, where we share the myths, the mysteries, and oh yes, the mess. Tonight's story is one I've been saving for just this time of year. A creature so iconic in Filipino folklore, so bizarre in her lifestyle choices that she manages to be both horrifying and weirdly fascinating. And whether you've heard her name before or not, I promise by the end of this episode, you'll never forget her. Welcome to episode 11. So picture this in your mind for a second. You're lying in bed, the night is still, and you hear it, a deep, heavy whoosh, whoosh over your roof. Then, silence. Not the comfortable kind either, the kind that makes the hair on your arm stand up like you just heard gossip that you weren't supposed to. And that's when you remember your Lola or your grandmother and her warning. If you hear wings at night, don't move. Because in the Philippines, that sound might not be an owl or a bat or even the neighbor's clothesline flapping in the wind. It could be something much stranger, something that's beautiful by day and downright nightmare feel by night. This is the Manananggal, a creature who literally leaves half her body behind to go hunting. And not in a, I'll just leave my coat here kind of way. We're talking about detaching at the waist, sprouting wings, and heading out for a very specific kind of midnight snack. We're going to start lighthearted because you and I both know once we get into the details, you'll be checking the sky and maybe your windows a little differently tonight. The name Manananggal comes from the Tagalog root word tanggal, meaning to remove or to detach. Add the prefix mana, one who habitually does something, and you get the one who detaches. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. By day, she looks like an ordinary woman, often described as strikingly beautiful, maybe even charming in a way that makes you want to linger in conversation. By night, she finds a hidden place, plants her feet, and then detaches at the waist. Her upper body sprouts bat-like wings, lifts into the air, and takes off into the darkness. The lower half, it just stays there, standing like a forgotten mannequin in the corner of a thrift shop. And what's on the menu, you ask? Her favorite prey in most stories are pregnant women. Not to harm the mother, but to feed on the unborn child. Some versions say she uses a long thread-like tongue, thin enough to slip through the cracks in walls or under doors to reach her target. In others, she hunts the sick, the vulnerable, or simply anyone sleeping with an open window on a moonless night. While some Western monsters are all about brute force, claws, teeth, dramatic entrances, the Manananggal's horror is quieter, more intimate. She doesn't crash through doors, she hovers outside your home, listening to the slow rhythm of sleeping breath. And here's the unnerving part. She's not just a one-off creature in a single tale. She belongs to a much larger family of Filipino shapeshifters known as aswang, which covers a whole range of night hunters and flesh eaters. The Manananggal is just the overachiever of the group. Before the Spanish arrived in the 1500s, the Visayas, the Central Island group in the Philippines, already had nights filled with things far darker than anything lit by lanterns or firelight. Their oral traditions brimmed with supernatural beings, spirits that guard the forests, shapeshifters that prowl the outskirts of villages, and creatures that explain the kind of sudden misfortunes no one could prepare for. The Manananggal fit neatly into this world. She wasn't just a monster. She was a living warning. Her stories were reminders to avoid traveling alone at night, protect expectant mothers, close and secure your home before sunset. In pre-colonial times, these weren't just spooky suggestions, they were community safety protocols disguised as bedtime tales. Then came the Spanish, bringing Catholicism in its own brand of fear. Sin, temptation, the devil. When these beliefs merged with older indigenous myths, the Manananggal transformed from a nocturnal predator into a 2-for-1 cautionary tale. A dangerous night creature in the image of a seductive woman corrupted by dark forces. From there, the legend picked up a few regional upgrades. In the Visayas, her heartland, she's the most feared and the most often spotted. In Luzon, she's remembered for that needle-thin tongue, the one that can slip right through walls like a whisper you can't block out. And in Mindanao, her traits blur with other shapeshifters, making her even harder to pin down or even predict. Folklore this persistent isn't just a story, it's a survival instinct, dressed up in wings and teeth, and passed down through every era it's managed to haunt. Capiz, in the central Philippines, is the kind of place where Manananggal stories aren't just something you've heard of. They're part of the local air, whispered between market stalls, repeated at family gatherings, and carried down through generations. One of the most well-known tales there begins with a young woman named Maria. She had just married and was several months pregnant. Her husband worked in the next town, so on some nights, Maria slept alone in their small bamboo house. One evening, her sister dropped by with dinner. She found Maria pale, restless, and uneasy. Maria admitted that for the past week, she'd been waking in the night to the sound of wings. At first heavy, like they're just above the roof, then lighter, and gone. And each time, she'd feel a strange pulling in her belly. The kind of movement that made her protective instincts just flare. That night, her sister decided to stay. She laid beside Maria, pretending to sleep. Sometime after midnight, the air shifted, colder, heavier, with a tension that made even the crickets stop. Then came the sound. Wings. Slow and deliberate. Through the woven bamboo slats of the wall, a shadow appeared. A woman, or at least the upper half of one, hovered just outside the window. Her hair hung down like wet rope, her eyes catching the faint light. From her mouth extended a thin, almost transparent tongue, reaching with insect precision toward Maria's stomach. The sister didn't scream. She remembered the old remedies. Quietly, she reached for the garlic and salt her mother had insisted she carry on her trip. With one motion, she hurled that toward the figure. The salt hit first. The creature let out a sound, not of pain exactly, but of pure frustration. It jerked backwards. Her wings flapped hard, retreating into the darkness beyond the tree line. The next morning, villagers found a pair of legs hidden in tall grass in the forest's edge. The cut at the waist was smooth, almost polished. They rubbed the wound with salt and ash, then waited for dawn. By the time the sun rose, the legs had turned black and crumbled to powder. Maria carried her baby to term without further incident, but to this day, in that part of Capiz, garlic still hangs by windows, just in case the night decides to remember her. And here's the thing. Capiz isn't the only place with Manananggal stories. She's a legend. Yes, but she's also a rumor that refuses to retire, popping up in headlines in neighborhood chatter, and sometimes in the kind of whispers that make people double-check their locks at night. The Manananggal has a knack for showing up in just the right place to keep herself in the public imagination, or just the wrong place if you happen to live there. In Tondo, Manila, 1992, multiple residents claimed to see a flying woman gliding between rooftops late at night. Police were called. No one was found, but by morning, you couldn't buy garlic anywhere in the neighborhood because it all sold out overnight. In Mindoro, early 2000s, farmers reported finding livestock with strange puncture wounds and partially drained of blood. The official headline was "Wild Dogs," but the locals knew what it really was. And in Cebu, there's a barangay where elders were never to sleep under open rafters. The reason? A Manananggal was supposedly spotted circling during Holy Week, the time when her powers are said to be at their peak. The pattern's always the same. Small towns, rural edges, or places where the line between wilderness and home is paper thin. And whether you believe the sightings or not, one thing's for sure. She knows how to keep her legend alive. Now, before we wrap up, let's slip in some stranger, lesser-known details about the Manananggal, the kind of things you won't usually hear in the standard monster profile. She's got cousins. In some parts of Southeast Asia, there are similar detachable night creatures. The Pananggalang in Malaysia, the Layak in Bali, and even the Krasui in Thailand and Cambodia. But here's the kicker. They don't all detach at the waist. Some take just the head and trailing organs. Others keep their torso but drop their legs entirely. It's like the regional variations of coffee. Same idea but wildly different presentation. There are a few details about the Manananggal that don't always make it into the main story, but once you hear them, they do stick. First, transformation triggers. Most tellings say she chooses when to split, but some older versions claim it's tied to a ritual. In one, she rubs special oil into her skin before separating, which means she smells faintly of flowers right before an attack. Tiny, eerie contrast to what's about to happen. Second, she's not always a lone hunter. While most stories show her hunting solo, some Visayan accounts say she works in pairs or even small groups. They share the same hiding place for their lower halves. Imagine walking into a grove and finding not one, but several pairs of legs waiting for their owners to return. Third, a feeding style twist. We've already talked about the thread-like tongue, but in one rural account, she doesn't just slip it through the cracks. She can make a thin slit in the roof or wall just wide enough for her tongue to slide in without making a single sound. By morning, there's no damage, no hole, just a memory of something that got inside. And finally, the silent swoop. Many eyewitnesses claim they first hear her wings from far away, heavy rhythmic beats, only for the sound to fade as she gets closer. Folklore says it's a trick, a way to make you think she's leaving when she's actually right above you. These are the kinds of details you don't put in a tourist brochure, but they're the ones that come back to you when the night outside is a little too quiet. If you strip away the wings, the tongue, and the midnight horror, the Manananggal is really a story about boundaries if you think about it. The literal ones like windows and doors, and the invisible ones like trust and safety. In pre-colonial times, she was a living reminder of the dangers that could slip in when your guard was down. Her story told communities to look out for one another, to check on the sick, to guard mothers-to-be, and to make sure no one was left vulnerable. The horror kept the warnings sharp. When the Spanish arrived, the lesson shifted but didn't vanish. She became a symbol of temptation and moral caution, especially about beauty and charm. But beneath that, the core message stayed the same. Be careful who you let close and protect the places where you rest. Maybe that's why she lasted so long, because whether you believe in her or not, the advice still works. Keep your home secure, take care of your neighbors, and remember that danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hovers quietly outside, waiting for a chance. What makes the Manananggal so unnerving isn't just what she does, it's that she leaves so little behind. No footprints, no trace of her passing. Just a night that feels wrong, a dream you can't quite shake, and the sense that something was near and decided to leave. That absence, it's its own kind of haunting. And she's not the only winged predator in the old stories. Far from the Philippine islands, in a desert where the air tastes of dust and the stars burn cold, legends speak of another figure. He hunts for different reasons, but the presence he casts is just as heavy, his shadow just as unwelcoming when the night falls too quiet. Next time, we're trading moonlit rooftops for scorching desert winds and stepping into the shadow of a demon king feared in ancient Mesopotamia, yet still called upon for protection. His name? Pazuzu, bringer of plagues, guardians against worse evils, and the face that's haunted amulets, temples, and more than a few horror movies. It's ancient magic, sandstorm power, and just the right amount of unsettling for Halloween. I'm June, and this has been the Mythical Madam podcast. Keep your soul close, your charms closer, and maybe make sure you're here when the next story arrives. I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please let me know and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And make sure to leave your comments if you're listening on Spotify. Don't miss out on a single episode. Episodes dropping bi-weekly, so make sure to subscribe on the show on Substack at Mythical Madam and my YouTube channel. The Mythical Madam is produced and edited in partnership with Andy Lara at sunfacemedia.com. I'm incredibly grateful for the collaboration and support in bringing these stories to life. All of this and more linked in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.